Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Art of MMA. I'm your host, Mike Ginn. Of course, joined as always by the mechanic, Brandon Cuttino. Brandon, what's up, buddy?
Hey, man, doing good. Kind of sad Tom Brady won another Super Bowl, but it is what it is.
Gotta respect him. Just gotta respect it.
And I just want to give a special shout out to my man, Sergio DaSilva. Today's his birthday, so happy birthday to you, man, up above.
Yeah, God bless. Happy birthday, Sergio. A couple quick things before we get going. Look on the screen. You'll notice Fighters First. Brandon's got the logo tee. You can get all of that at artofmma.com/shop. We got the classic style. We got the logo style. We got a couple other really cool Way of the Fist. We got MMA versus everybody. Just a bunch of cool designs on there. All of it helps support the site. You notice there's no advertising on here. So definitely use the promo code Mechanic15. And from now on, you'll save 15% whenever you use that. We try to use a different promo code every week to make sure you're watching. But for friends and family of Brandon, I decided to do a special one this week, Mechanic15, and you will save 15%. That was right on the screen, so you can't miss it. Now, Brandon, we got a lot to talk about this week. Obviously, we had a big card last week, UFC Vegas 18. The bare knuckle thing took place. We'll mention that. And then, of course, one also had a card back home in Singapore. We'll glance over that. Got some news to talk about. I'm just going to go ahead and start right off with the bat. You're a Diaz brothers fan. You like to mention him on the show. Your boy Nate loves to make headlines, loves to make news. Not only is he making Dana look like a liar, he ain't going back to 155. Hint, he probably can't cut the weight. But he hasn't even won in 5 years, and he's running around talking about he owns the lightweight division. Yes, I know he beat Anthony Pettis, but that was at 170. He beat Conor at 170. He hasn't won a fight since Michael Johnson in December of 2015. Is he just talking shit?
Yeah, he's just talking, man. He's just trying to talk. He's trying to talk himself into a fight. That's what he's doing, you know. But that's what the Diaz brothers do. You know, they run their mouths. People listen to it. They react. Their fans get behind them. Their fans are on Twitter calling other fighters out. You know, supporting them, and then that gets the other fighters to react.
I want to see him and Wonderboy go at it at 170. Nice guy versus the bad guy. Just let him go.
Yeah. That
would be fun. That would just be a good marketing.
That would be a good one. I would probably give it to Wonderboy hands down, but that's just me.
Yeah, I mean, Nate can fight. We all know he can fight. Him and his brother can fight, but they're more of a special attraction than contenders at this point. Speaking of contenders, let's start talking about $1 million. Last week we talked about PFL, and they released their lightweight and their featherweight divisions. Now they got their welterweight and light heavyweight. They got their heavyweight, and they got their ladies division that they all announced. We'll go over some of those real quick. Let's go ahead and start in the beginning. They released their light heavyweight and welterweight schedules. I mean, not schedules, but rosters. The big name at 155 is probably the return of Sorty. But you got veterans like Chris Camozzi, Cesar Ferreira, veterans like Tom Lawler, who we haven't seen in a while. Anybody at 155 going to really challenge for that crown?
I mean, 205, light heavyweight, 205.
I'm sorry, 205.
Yeah. Yeah. I got you. You're not
still on the Super Bowl hangover from Tampa winning the Super Bowl.
Okay, gotcha. You know what? I'm really kind of intrigued to see what Tom Lawler's about. I mean, I know lately he's been wrestling a lot. You know, with I think MLW, you know, Major League Wrestling down there in Florida. So I'm kind of see what he's got. You know, Chris Camozzi. You know, he was hanging out in Glory for a bit. You know, working on his striking, getting his striking up. So I'm kind of looking forward to see what he does. Being back in the MMA.
I'd be interested to see what Dan Spohn and Jordan Young do too. They definitely have some potential in that. On the other side of things, the welterweights, the big name Rory Macdonald, Joao Zeffirino's in there. We got David McCaud. We got Ray Cooper, Magomed Karimov. I always butcher that. I'm sorry. Just so many names. But is this Rory's to lose? He's down training in Sanford now. He's training with those old Black Zillion crew. We keep saying Sanford, and I always think Black Zillions as soon as I think of it, because most of them are former Black Zillions. But he's down there training with people like Robbie Lawler and all those guys in the same weight class, same killers. Are we going to see a better, more advanced Rory Macdonald in this tournament?
I mean, well, like I want to say, everywhere he's going, he has looked better. He has looked improved. You know, I mean, his into Bellator wasn't probably what he wanted, but he was kind of dominating there too. You know, before he had his rematch with Lima and everything. But I want to say, I was
about to say he started off hot in Bellator and then he lost.
Yeah, but that's what I want to say. But I do want to say that it is his tournament to lose because he's really the big name at welterweight for them.
Any sleepers in that division? I always like Joel Zeffirino. I always think he's potential. He's a little older now, but he's still got a lot of potential.
I mean, hey, man, you can never sleep on Ray Cooper because if you do, he'll put you to sleep. So, I mean, you always got that guy that got some power, you know, that can put you out, you know. So we'll see what, you know, we'll see what he does.
Before we get to the ladies, let's go ahead and talk about PFL's heavyweight roster. The big name, Patricio Verdum, came over. They got another young UFC guy, Justin Willis, Dennis Golstov. They got Ante Delija. Obviously, Isavev is the defending champion. Who really is the favorite there? Because I wouldn't even give Fabricio the favorite status in that.
I mean, honestly, I would give him probably the favorite status, but another person to look out to, if you're looking at the poster, is the person next to him. That's Usman, because that's actually Kamaru Usman's brother, and he's Muhammad. Fought. I think he's fought in Titan a few times. You know. So I got to watch him there. Say, man, he's a heavyweight. He can wrestle. You know, he got some striking. So I mean, that probably could be my sleeper pick. You know, so my favorite pick would probably be Verdum, but then my sleeper pick will probably be Usman.
Yeah, they got some older vets in there. Brandon Sales is like 39, so they got some people that can put on a fight, but probably should just be like first round outs. But I think Verdum's going to be in there. Isaev is going to be in there, obviously, and Usman might be potential. I think Justin Willis is the one to look out for personally. Yeah. But we shall see. And we mentioned Sergio earlier. I also want to mention happy anniversary to Cage Fury Fighting Championship, CFFC. They've been around since 2006, but today or this month is their 10th anniversary of new ownership. Rob Haydak, Arias Garcia, they've done tremendous things with that promotion. You've obviously seen people like Alamont Sterling. You've seen Sergio DaSilva, Paul Felder, George Sullivan, Jimmie Rivera, who's fighting this weekend. So many great fighters have come through CFFC in the Northeast. So shout out to Rob Haydak and Arias Garcia and all those guys for just putting on a tremendous promotion for a very long time. Congratulations on 10 years. And some other news going on right now. Just announced Cowboy Diego Sanchez, May 8th. I don't want to say I told you so, but if you go back to our second episode, I said, you know what, that would be a great fight. And both you and Sergio pooped on me and said, there ain't no way Cowboy would come down and fight Diego, that it was a step down. So thank you. I'm right. Thank you. But I actually think it's going to be a pretty fun fight. Diego's not going to back up. You saw with Clay Guida this weekend, and we'll talk about that later. Some of those vets just keep coming. Cowboy said he's looking for a highlight. They have a lot of bad blood between the two of them. They used to be training partners at Jackson. Cowboy left to do his own thing at the BMF Ranch. Diego never sat right with that. And then, of course, Diego left. So I don't know really where all that stands, but should be a fun fight. Jimmy Walker is out versus Crute at 260. Brandon just let me know that Anthony Smith stepped in on that one. So something to take a look at. In other fight news, you're talking about Patricio Pitbull has been calling out Max Holloway. Brandon, we talked about this with Cyborg and Amanda. There's really no way Dana would ever do that. It's like Vince McMahon saying, all right, let's have a cross promotion with AEW. It's just not going to do it. He thinks Dana thinks he's the only promotion in town. Nothing else exists. Do you see any way Pitbull and Max Holloway fight?
Yeah, when Max Holloway is no longer in the UFC. That's the only way. Just like Pitbull said, man, I mean, what Pitbull said makes sense. Is like, for some reason, Bellator has no problem doing shows in Hawaii. UFC doesn't want to do it because I guess they don't want to pay whatever it is that they have to pay to do a show there. Bellator has no problem doing it. I mean, Max Holloway, dude, that dude, like he said, like Pitbull said, man, stadiums. They're selling out stadiums, not just arenas. They would sell out a stadium there in Hawaii. So
they can do they can do a massive card. Have a co-main event. Patricio, Pitbull, Max Holloway, Cyborg, and Nunez. Yeah. Let them go.
Yep, but I mean, we'll see because I mean, even what people say, you know, like people don't think that Pitbull that Bellator doesn't have money, but it's like, dude, they're owned by a network, you know, so you have the money of the network. Now it just depends on what they want to spend for somebody. You know, that's where it's just like, oh, you know, maybe they might not want to go after everybody, but they will go after certain people. And
speaking of network, Bellator has an announcement today. It's going to come after we record this episode, so you'll probably know before our episode is out. A lot of speculation. Brandon was telling me earlier he thinks it's about the tournament coming up and maybe moving their start date up a week. I've heard a lot of talk about moving over to the streaming service the same way UFC does with ESPN Plus. They want to go ahead and move over with CBS's streaming services, so Paramount Plus. So we'll see what ends up being the announcement. It could literally be anything. And then the last bit of news before we hop into some results. Doesn't look like Oliveira is going to get what he wants, because right now I think the UFC is lining up Dustin versus Conor, the trilogy fight in May. What do you think happens first? Do you think they're going to set up Oliveira with a title shot against somebody else? Or do you think they'd make that Dustin Conor the title fight?
I mean, they could do Dustin. I mean, I could see them doing Dustin Conor 3 because Dustin said that's what he wanted. Conor, of course, says that's what he wants. So usually everybody thinks that Conor gets what he wants anyway. And then, too, I could see that it's Oliveira versus Michael Chandler as the co-main. And then, boom, those two winners, they face each other either for the belt, or you could say, right, it could be Dustin and Conor for the belt. But I don't see how Conor should get a title shot once he just got dropped, you know?
Same as Gaethje, yeah, I agree.
Yeah, you know, so to me, I feel like it's just going to be Dustin versus Conor, just another main event, 5-round fight, and then the co-main can be Oliveira and Chandler, and then those two winners go off against each other.
Yeah, I mean, Oliveira really can't use the 11-day excuse if they put it off in May, but I think that's a long time for everybody to wait, especially as fast as Chandler won, as fast as Dustin won. But all those guys are probably looking to get in more around the spring, but you got a lot of fighters coming back that weren't really active in 2020, so there's a lot of cards to fill up right now in 2021. Now that some of the restrictions are starting to go down a little bit. Not so much in Vegas, but obviously Fight Island has some fans, and they're talking about fighting in a few other places. I've heard Singapore mentioned for May. So anything could happen.
Hey, one thing before we go, because we didn't talk about it, but we forgot to talk about the PFL women's division.
Oh, you're right. I totally forgot about that. Real quick, PFL women's, and I'll be honest, it's Kayla Harrison's to lose. You got a couple other fighters you might know. Larissa Pacheco, who was the fighter who lost to Kayla in the finals last year. Ginn Fabian, Mariana Moraes, Laura Sanchez. But I don't really see anybody until they put Carissa Shields there, who's not ready and admittedly not ready. Carissa Shields wants to train. She wants to get better. She went before she steps in with Kayla. And you got to respect that. She's just not taking the payday. But I mean, really, does anybody stand a chance against Kayla right now?
Yes, Cindy Dandonis. That's my pick, man. This is why
you were 0-3 last week.
You know what, man? Hey, that's another topic. But Cindy is, I mean, one her strike, like her, we all know.
I couldn't help myself.
Her striking isn't all that. But she too, I want to say, is a judoka as well, and she also has a lot of submissions. You know, she knows the ground game. So, I mean, hey, man, I really want to say that yes, it is Kayla's division to lose, but I wouldn't be shocked if Cindy came in and made some noise. The other girls that you were mentioning, like especially, I know you look at the post, look at that, like that bottom row, like some of those girls only have like 2 fights, 1 fight. You know, it's like, man, are they really expecting these girls to really do something out here, or are they just bodies, you know, just to fill up a tournament?
I will give Dandos credit. She does have a win over Megan Anderson. I mean, it was 5 years ago. But.
I'm saying, and she has, and she has the experience, you know, saying she has plenty of fights, you know, so that's why she's my pick. Now, would I maybe be a little more confident in her if maybe of the COVID restrictions, because I want to say she's training in her own gym back in Belgium. Because I want to say before she used to come over to the States, because I know she's good friends with Misha Tate. So I think she would come over here and maybe train in the States with her, you know, to get some good work in. But now since everything's going on, I know she's kind of training at her own gym. So I really don't know if she has people to really, you know, give her some good work.
My only thing is I saw, if I didn't see Kayla fight at 145, those two fights with Invicta and Titan, and how dominant she looked at the end of the year, I might be like, all right, yeah, she's still a little green. She could lose. Man, she looked vicious in those two fights, especially the Invicta one. I don't see anybody stopping her. You know, there's a lot of talk of the Cyborg call out and how Cyborg had a chance to sign with PFL before she went to sign with Scott Coker, and, you know, where she's more comfortable, obviously. That's got to be the fight. If you're going to do a cross-promotion fight, forget Nunes. That's not going to happen. Dana doesn't think another promotion exists in the world. It's going to be Kayla versus Cyborg if that's going to be a cross-promotion fight for anything. But I think it's going to be Kayla versus Carissa Shields first, and that's going to probably happen sometime next year. And this year they'll stretch it out, and she'll win her $1 million, in my opinion, and keep on going. So
yeah. I mean, I could see it could happen. I mean, Bellator has done cross promotion work, you know, because they have done stuff with Ryzen before. So I mean, to me, like Scott Coker, to me, is a guy that he doesn't mind working with people. I guess it's just all about just working things out. Like oh, you know, is it going to be on Paramount, you know, Plus or CBS, wherever it is, or is it going to be on ESPN Plus, you know, type of deal? Because I mean, even now, right? If you look at boxing, you know, you got Top Rank, PBC, they're working together, you know, they're doing crossover fights. So, I mean, it is a possibility, you know, hey, with the UFC, Dana doesn't want to do it, but that's just him, you know, he loses out. You know, you look at wrestling now, AEW and Impact, they're doing crossovers. So it is a possible thing. I think it's just all about the logistics of everything, probably.
Yeah, the only problem with crossovers is when you're the big boy or a big girl in this case, it only elevates the lower person, right? UFC doing something with Bellator, it puts more eyes on Bellator than it does help UFC. Same thing in wrestling. WWE, if they do a crossover with Impact or AEW or New Japan, it puts eyes on a product that isn't WWE in a situation where they're clearly number one. From a fan perspective, we all want to see it, right? We all want to see, you know, the top dog here versus the top dog there. I mean, I would love to see Douglas Lima and Usman go at it. Who wouldn't, right? But it's just not going to happen because Dana doesn't think the others exist. That's just how he goes about his business. Speaking of results, speaking of AEW, actually, the first results I'm going to talk about, one had their fight on Friday. Rasahina came up with a late submission over Fairtex in the main event. The reason I'm even mentioning one is a couple years ago, it was kind of a big deal, but people forgot. One signed that deal with TNT. They were going to start airing their content on TNT sometime in 2019. For whatever reason, it never happened. They got the deal with Bleacher Report, obviously. They do some kind of delayed streaming with Bleacher Report. They have done for a while. Well, thanks to our good friend Vito Belfort, who likes to get the popular people talking, same way the Diaz brothers do. Vito was talking about doing a crossover with AEW, fighting Chris Jericho and some other stuff, and he got people reminding. Well, turns out this April, one is going to be making their debut. They're going to have 4 straight cards on TNT. It's going to air after AEW Wrestling on Wednesdays. So it's going to be a big block of AEW into one Championship Wrestling. It's going to put a lot more eyes on a product that's really good. A lot of great fighters. I believe Demetrius Johnson's fighting on one of those, and I think Eddie Alvarez might be fighting on one of those cards. Yeah. So it's going to put a lot of eyes on them, and it's going to be on public or cable TV. So there's no more excuse for one right now. They got everybody looking at them come this April. Are you excited about that?
Yeah, no, I just want you to know, I want to say that one did put some shows on TNT, but they were just like delayed, and they were coming on at like 1 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah,
that was the thing.
Like,
yeah, exactly. They weren't live. They were tape delayed. I kind of really want to say it might be the same with these ones too, because usually their time, I want to say, would be the morning for us. So they might be delayed as well, but you know, we'll see. But yeah, nah, I'm pumped for it. Yo, anytime I can watch good fights, I'm always for it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it will be delayed, but at the same time, they got a 4-week run on TNT every week. It's not like an event popping up once in a while. They're going to try to see what they can do every week and then reassess after that. I'm excited to see it. Hopefully they put on some really good fights. There's some named fighters: Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson, obviously Eddie Alvarez, Angela Lee. Vitor Belfort's over there now, and he's going to fight on one of those cards. I'm assuming probably steroided up Vitor Belfort, TRT Vitor Belfort, but we shall see. He's trying to cross over with wrestling, trying to do his best Tito Ortiz, so we'll see.
Hey man, I'm down. Hey, I'm down to see Vitor beat up on Chris Jericho.
I'm sure that the whole inner circle will probably jump the shit out of his ass if he starts winning that fight.
Yo, what if they do a crossing with Chris Hager and Vitor Belfort? Bellator won? Yeah. You know?
I mean, he signed with Bellator, so he's still fighting, so we'll see. Different networks, though, so that one might be a little harder to pull off.
Yeah.
The other big fight, card this weekend, same weekend as the Super Bowl right here in Tampa. It was in a place about 30 minutes outside of Tampa. They kept billing it from Tampa, but people in Tampa were like, it's not really. Of course, I'm talking about bare knuckle fighting, KnuckleMania, headlined by Bret Hart and Paige Van Zandt. There were actually some really good fights on that card. I actually watched quite a bit of it. I got home. I went out to a little bit of the celebration weekend for Tampa and everything before the Super Bowl. Came home, got in time for the last 4 fights. Chris Lieben, UFC veteran, MMA legend. He's been around forever. You know, he goes balls to the wall every time he fights. What better way for him to go out, you know, with a vicious knockout and then retire from combat sports? So congrats to Chris Lieben. And the guy that really blew me away, former boxer, I really didn't know much about him, but that win, he fought Johnny Bedford for the 135 title. And I don't know how much you saw of it, Brandon, but that was a good fight. Johnny Bedford kept trying to bully him, and that win just kept piecing him up for 5 rounds. And then, of course, the main event, Bret Hart defeated Paige Van Zandt. Britain basically controlled it from start to finish. Paige had a really good last round. But impressive fights, especially, you know, everybody in bare knuckle, they start this far away from each other, and it's just go. And it just turns up the excitement 1,000 times. I don't know how much longevity some of these people will have in these careers, because even Bret Hart had a few teeth knocked out against Paige Van Zandt. For as much as Paige got hit, she really didn't have too many scratches on her after the fight, which is kind of impressive.
Yeah, exactly.
What did you think of the whole card? You think bare knuckle has a legit future? And then they have a lot of former fighters, MMA fighters.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie, it's not my cup of tea, you know. But I'm not gonna knock it if that's what people are into, you know. I mean, to me, I know, like, you can get a lot of, like, especially in those fights, you see the afterpost, man. To me, they get a lot of cuts on their faces. They get a lot of.
They don't even use a mouth guard. They don't even use a mouth guard.
Yeah.
They don't have a mouth guard or anything. It's just straight up getting teeth knocked out.
Exactly. Like, that's why I'm just like, yeah, I don't know, man. Like, I mean, hey, man, they're still young. They might change rules. They might say, hey, you know what? Let's maybe wear some mouthpieces now. But, you know, hey, man, if it's another, like, say, you know me, I always say, man, prize fighter. If they're gonna pay you the money to do it, I'm not gonna knock you. You want to get paid, you know.
I feel like it's just like their whole thing is like a street fight. You know, put you here, put you there. All right, you guys fight, girls fight, and it's a street fight, and it's exciting for, you know, fans as an alternative. You know, we've talked offline about boxing and kickboxing with the bigger 10-ounce gloves and 12-ounce gloves in boxing and stuff like that. UFC's got the 4-ounce gloves, but then UFC has the grappling, and that's not always exciting for everybody unless there's some kind of submission or something along those lines. And I just think that they have a nice niche, especially as they keep bringing over former MMA fighters, so they're drawing the MMA audience. They get a little bit of the people in boxing that are curious about something different, but boxing is going to, you know, shit on them because it's not scientific. It's just two people going out there trying to hurt each other.
Yeah.
But there's been some vicious knockouts and definitely some highlights. So, you know, it's definitely kept people's attention. I didn't think they'd go, what is this, their 5th or 6th event? Maybe even more.
Maybe. I think I want to say more. But well, then too, because I think there might have been another bare knuckle organization as well doing shows as well. But hey, I wouldn't really sleep on Chris Lieben being retired, because he did put out a tweet saying that he maybe could do one more fight, and I think the people maybe want him to be the guy who fights Jake Paul.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have to see if Ben embarrasses an entire industry or if he shows up. I'm sure he's at Rufus Sport right now, just probably like getting trained with every striker they have, Mike Biggie Rhodes and Anthony Pettis and all of them. They're like, don't embarrass us, don't do it. So yeah. I think we might see a different Ben Askren than the kind of joking training videos we've seen. At least I hope. All right. Let's segue over into UFC Vegas 18, break down some of these results. I do want to shout out Erik Johnson, who chimed in last week. Thanks, Erik. Hopefully we'll get his picks back on soon. I do want to announce that both him and Brandon went 0-3 last week. So let me put my Jimmie Johnson hat on. If I was on Fox, I'm the lead dog. I went 3-0 this week, but as Brandon so eloquently put it, I'll probably go 0-3 this week. So he's probably not wrong. Like Paige said, stay humble in victory and humble in defeat. So I'll just have to wait till I go 3-0 again and then talk shit. Let's talk about some of these results. Let's start off with the co-main. Cory Sandhagen versus Frankie Edgar. That hurt a lot of people's soul. Everybody loves Frankie. I did pick Sandhagen to win. I didn't want him to win like that. I mean, you know, like Frankie said, sometimes this game is a bitch and you just got to pick yourself up. Not much to really analyze on it, but it was a perfectly placed knee. What do you think, Brandon?
Hey, man, good job on Sandhagen. You know, he got his distance. He saw his shot, took it. Good timing, you know, Frankie, because at the time when it happened, Frankie was coming in. So, hey, you're coming forward. You got that knee coming up. Boom. It was good night. You know, it was a sad thing to see, you know, somebody that the people like Frankie. I mean, even Sandhagen, like you could see his face when they were saying the decision. You know, he had his head down, and then
Frankie was down for a long time too.
Yeah, but then also too in the post fight interview, he even said, he was like, "Yo, that's Frankie Edgar. You know, I don't want to see that." So, but kudos to him, man. He did what he's supposed to do.
I mean, Frankie's a legend, right? Everybody loves Frankie, former world champion. I really hope this means that he'll stop trying to cut weight and come back up, because this might have ended any title hopes, right? Like Frankie thought, I can go down for one more division, win a couple fights, get one more shot, whether it's Peter Yan, Alamon Sterling, any of those guys at 135, right?
Mm-hmm.
But Sandhagen put that to rest. You know, like he put Marlon Moraes to rest, put Frankie Edgar. It's not a fluke. The guy is that good. He lost to Sterling because Sterling doesn't put himself in bad positions. And even Sandhagen said he's a different fighter since that. He learned from that. That's the first thing you talk to an MMA fighter after a loss. Did you learn something, right? Mm-hmm. When you go to Tiger Schulman's and you're training with anybody. I mean, we just talked about Solomon Renfro not too long ago, right? I'm sure he's back in the gym looking not to do what he did that last fight. Because you know what? If he fixes what he did last fight, he's going to go on another long winning streak because that kid is that talented. If you learn from your mistakes and you keep moving, that's what Sandhagen did. And now, if they sit there and put TJ Dillashaw in front of him for a title shot, that's just shitting on the entire division. Excuse my language, but that's just crapping on everybody. Sandhagen's not wrong. There's been people in there fighting week in and week out, month in and month out during this entire pandemic where DJ's been sitting on his suspension for PEDs too, not just, you know, because he, you know, took something by accident.
Mm-hmm.
TJ Dillashaw's got to earn his way back up too. I'm not saying he can't. He's an amazing fighter. I don't think the PEDs made that much of a difference for somebody like him. It wasn't like he was 280 pounds and just, you know, I mean, TJ's a small dude, even with PEDs. So I think he has to win a couple fights before he gets a title shot. That wouldn't be crazy, right?
Well,
so I think Sandhagen's definitely in line. If he's not going to get it next, there can't be more than one more fight before he does. The main event, not much difference. Both you and Erik picked Alistair. I went with Volkov only because the age difference. But I'll tell you something that surprised me before I get your opinion on this fight. I didn't realize, and I know Volkov's a big dude, but Alistair's a pretty big dude too. But he looked like a child next to Volkov. Volkov was huge for this fight. Not just like tall, but like he was like cutting weight to the 165 limit. Like I think he weighed in at 164. I'm sorry, 264. Mm-hmm. Whereas Overeem was like 240 or something like for this fight. It was just night and day. Tell the people what happened in that fight.
Hey man, I mean, to be honest with you, I don't know what was in Alistair's camp or like what was his game plan, but it seemed like he had a defensive mindset because basically all he had was let me move around, let me have my high shell, his high guard, just covering his face, and that was really it. Like he really didn't throw any offense, maybe one shot here or there, and then like saying he just put himself up against the cage. And that's where Volkov just went off with combinations, using that uppercut to go through that guard, using his hooks to go around, and then here and there, and then here you would hear like even. Yeah, and then you even hear like Daniel Cormier even like say like, oh, he should go to the body because Overeem's hands were up, and which he did here and there go to the body as well. But I mean, but most of the damage was to the face. Then Overeem got his nose busted, and it was a wrap after that.
Yeah, Overeem landed a couple big shots. He wasn't completely shut out, but you could tell he was looking for the one and done. Like I think he knew he couldn't go toe to toe with Volkov. Yeah. He was looking for the one and done. There was no combos. It was haymaker, and then I think after he landed a couple haymakers and Volkov just kept coming forward, I think Overeem knew he was in trouble. I think the fight would have been over sooner if Volkov had gone to the body, if he had thrown some knees or kicks to the body just to keep his guard from going just straight up. It would have been probably over sooner. Even Volkov said he knew the fight was over when he saw Overeem choking on his own blood from that broken nose. That happened in the first round. Overeem still came out for the second round. No knock on Overeem. Both him and Frankie Edgar lost pretty dramatically this weekend, but I don't think either of their careers are over. I just think both their title runs are over. A lot of people, I think this is just almost the trend. And we've done it too. When Cowboy lost or got the draw against Nico Price, later, I guess, the no contest, or what did they Nico failed for weed, I think, or something.
Yeah. So I think, it did become a no contest.
When Diego lost the week after that. When some of these guys we've seen fight forever, because combat sports isn't a lifetime sport. It's a vicious sport with vicious results, and it can end your career, it can end your life. So when some of these guys suffer bad results and they've been doing it for a long time, of course, it's obvious to say, hey, are they going to retire? What's next for them? I think both Frankie and Alistair came out afterwards and said they're not thinking about retirement. But like we just talked about Frankie, I would love to see Frankie go back up to 155, honestly, not cut weight and just have some fights and have fun. He doesn't have to have a title shot. Like he can just have fun with some of these fights. Same thing with Alistair. You get Alistair against some of these up-and-coming heavyweights and just let him have fun because his title hopes are gone now. So what do you think's next for Overeem before we move on?
Man, to be honest with you, I really don't even know. I mean, I'm trying to think like who could he fight at the heavyweight division, and like nobody's really coming to mind right now. But I mean, I think you're right. Like his title dreams are done, for sure.
Has he fought Derek Lewis yet?
No, he's never fought Derek Lewis. No.
Well, but, depending on the result of him and Blades, but if Lewis lost, I could see that being a fun fight.
Yeah, that could maybe happen, but yeah, I mean, I don't know, but going back to Frankie, I mean, I kind of like Frankie at bantamweight because really bantamweight I think is where he belongs. I like especially for him to go back up to 155. Man, those dudes are too heavy for him. There's
a lot of fights at 45 too.
Yeah, I mean, he could maybe go to 45, but I think I would rather see him at 135. And also too, to me at 135, I really want to say that his shot for the title, I don't think really is over yet because I can see this happening. Now, TJ Dillashaw is coming back. He hasn't been here for a while. Now, could TJ Dillashaw maybe get a Jose Aldo? He could, but maybe I could see Frankie Edgar maybe taking that fight, and he could welcome TJ. TJ comes back, Frankie beats him. Now Frankie's back in the conversation if he beats TJ Dillashaw because that's the former champion at 135. I mean, dude, like it's one of the things, man, we do with the UFC. They're all over the place, man. Dude, freaking Jose Aldo got a freaking title shot off a loss at 135. You know what I'm saying? To me, anything can happen, man. Freaking Uriah Faber had thought he was gonna get a title shot, you know, or maybe he did. I can't remember. Did he get the title shot against Jan? No. I think Jan fought him before the title.
He fought him on his way up to the top.
Yeah. So I mean, hey man, Frankie can still be in the mix because I want to say,
honestly wouldn't mind seeing Faber and Frankie go. I wouldn't mind seeing Faber
because I want to. Yeah. That would be a good fight. I think that was a fight that was talked many years ago when they were both at 145, but it just never happened. But I think Faber maybe did retire, or I'm not sure if he is or not.
Well, but he came out of retirement the last time. I think he said he still wanted a couple more fights. So I just haven't seen him because of COVID and everything. So
yeah. So, but I mean, though, but Frankie was ranked like number 4 in that fight against Sandhagen, because I think Sandhagen was ranked 1 or 2 or something like that. So. I mean, he's still in the mix. You know, you just never know what's going to happen. I mean, it could maybe depends on what happens, you know, after this weekend. You know, there are a couple of bantamweight fights happening. You know, you could see maybe Dominic Cruz and his fight coming up. You know, so I mean, I think there's still some life for him at 135. It just might take him a little bit longer than what he originally wanted.
I would like to see him against Dominic Cruz. I wouldn't even mind seeing him against, you know, somebody like Uriah Faber or some of these, you know, I would like to see some of these legend fights. That would be cool, especially at that weight class. But, I mean, unless it's somebody, I can even see Marlon Moraes, maybe somebody like that.
The teammates, well, actually, they're not teammates anymore because Moraes went back to 80. He went down to Florida.
Yeah, I'm sure they're friends because of the whole area, but just somebody of that caliber who's not quite in the top fight because he lost to Sandhagen too, that might make a good matchup. But I've also noticed Frankie's willing to fight almost anybody, even if they are friends. So, you know, he's one of those people that can fight you and be your best friend later. So figure it out. Let's talk about a couple other fights on the card that kind of drew interest. Me personally, this was Erik's fight, the Clay Guida, Michael Johnson fight. Clay Guida turned back the clock at least 5 years in this fight. Like, he looked fantastic. He was still hopping in the interview. Like, that guy, I don't know if he was loaded on caffeine or just high on life, but Clay Guida does not stop moving. He's like the Energizer Bunny, and he just picked Michael Johnson apart. He slammed him on the ground. He took him down, kept fighting him. Michael Johnson kept trying to box with him, and Clay Guida kept hitting him. So I was really impressed by Clay Guida. What fight kind of stood out to you?
I guess really the fight that stood out to me, which was a fight that I knew was going to be good. It was actually a fight that you picked, but that was the Dariush fight, man.
Yeah, that was a good fight.
They both came out, banging. Even went to the ground a little bit, but yeah, man, that was definitely probably the fight that stood out the most to me.
I'd also say that Timur Valiev fight, Martin Day took obviously Julio Arce's spot due to him dropping out, and Valiev looked great. Like, there was a couple 10-8 rounds. Like, it was just one-sided. Honestly, I think Julio would have put up a better fight, but Valiev looked like he was ready. So that was a good fight for them. And then also Carol Rosa bleeding all over the damn place, just, dominated Jocelyn Edwards. So a couple fights I really liked. But if you're ready, I'm ready. You ready to make some picks for this weekend?
Yes, sir.
All right. Let's see if I can go 3-0 one more time. We're going to start off with the co-main event. I'm not really sure how Macy Barber's in the co-main event against Alexa Grasso, but as it happens, we've had some fights come on and off this card, like many of the cards lately. Macy's a draw. She's an attention, getter. She's brash, kind of reminds me of a young Ronda Rousey. She comes out, she talks that shit, she walks the walk, but she ran into a brick wall in Roxanne Modafferi last time, tore her knee up in the process. Alexa Grasso's been around for a while. She's 12-3. She's coming off a win over Kim. Her only losses, though, to Esparza, Suarez, Felice Herring, those aren't really bad losses. And she's been, she beat, Randa Marcos. She beat Carolina, the Polish girl. She beat Heather Clark. She's beat a bunch of really solid fighters. The only big name Macy's beat is Jillian Robertson, who's also fighting on this card. So how do you see that fight going?
To me, man, I want to say, I'm going to tell you this. I'm picking Grasso right off the bat. But I want to say that because Grasso, to me, has the better stand-up, but I can see Maycee Barber trying to bully her and trying to take her down to the ground. But to me, man, if Maycee Barber wants to try to stand and bang with her, I think she's gonna be getting woken up, because I'm saying, hey, man, she did catch Jillian Robertson, but Jillian Robertson isn't a striker. Roxanne Modafferi, she's a veteran. She knows she's been working her striking as well with her new camp in Vegas. But also too, man, you get to the ground with Roxanne, she knows what to do. So that's what I think. That's what I think what happened to Maycee Barber. Well, also too, though, now Maycee is now dropping back down to 115 because I think Maycee Barber was getting ahead of herself, and she was going to be one of those people that she was going to try to be another women's double champ where she could do damage at 115 and 125. So I think this fight is going back down to 115 because that's what Grasso fights at. But I mean, she just had that long layoff coming off her ACL surgery.
They both go between 125 and 115.
But I want to say this fight's at 115, but I mean I could be wrong. But I think Grasso's taking it though.
I'm not really sure what weight it's actually now that you mention it, but I know they both fight at 125 and 115. So I agree with you. One thing I saw Roxanne really pick apart Maycee was leg kicks, distance, timing. Maycee Barber never really could get going in that fight. She tried. She kept coming forward. But Modafferi controlled her on the ground. She controlled her with the leg kick. She controlled everything, tore her knee ligament. If you're against somebody like Grasso, who's a little better striker than Roxanne, I don't see it going any different. I like Maycee Barber. I think she has a bright future. I think this is a bad matchup for her. And I think Grasso's going to win as well. All right, let's move on to the main event. Of course, the welterweight championship on the line. Talking about Kamaru Usman against his teammate Gilbert Burns. They moved away from different camps, so they didn't have to see each other for this one. Who you got and why?
Nigerian Nightmare, man. I'm going with the champ. And still, reason being is, man, dude, like what Kamaru Usman always says, man, like, yo, he doesn't break, man. He's waiting for somebody to bring the fight to him. Let's see if Gilbert Burns is that person. I know they know each other. But also, too, though, I like where Kamaru Usman went to when he's not at Sanford. He went all the way to my man Trevor Whitman. And I've always told people, man, if they ever ask me like, if you weren't at Tiger Showman's, where would you go? I would go hang out with Trevor Whitman. I like that guy. I've always liked him back in the days when he was hanging out with Rashad Evans. GSP would go hang out with him sometimes. So I think he got himself with a good coach. He's got Justin Gaethje there to help train with him. I think he's actually staying with Justin Gaethje. So Justin Gaethje's is like his roommate now, but they train real well. Somebody another good wrestler. Even though we don't see Justin Gaethje's wrestling in MMA, but we know he's a good wrestler just from college days and everything like that. And to me, Kamaru Usman, he's getting his striking better when you're hanging out with Trevor Whitman. Your striking will definitely go above. You just ask Rose, Rose Namajunas and Justin Gaethje, both former champs. One was an interim and one was the undisputed champ. So I just think Usman just has that mindset. I think he has better wrestling. I think the only thing he has to worry about with Gilbert Burns is maybe getting caught in a submission.
Yeah, I agree with you. I've gone back and forth on this one a few times. I got caught up in the hype with Gilbert Burns, especially when this fight was originally supposed to happen a few months ago. Got pushed back because Burns got COVID. Obviously, we don't know how his reaction since then has been to recovering from it. Some people have lung problems and stamina problems, and Usman's not the guy you want to have stamina problems against because he can go all day at the same speed. I think Usman's just too much for Burns. I think Burns jiu-jitsu, I think if he gets him on the ground, like Usman likes to do and likes to take you down and smother you, I think Burns can hold his own. And we know since Burns came up to 170, he's just run through everybody, including former champ Tyron Woodley. I just honestly, I just don't see this fight going any other way than Usman. I think Usman showed against Masvidal a few new tools, like having him up against the cage. You know, we joke about all the foot stomps, shoulder shrugs, all those things. Your jiu-jitsu doesn't really help you with that. And if he doesn't put himself in a bad position, Gilbert can't tap him out. So Gilbert can knock you out too, so anything can happen. But my money's on Usman for this fight. I just don't think this is the one he loses. I think he's been going too strong for too long, and he stays dedicated. He stays in that gym, even through COVID, even through everything. So I don't know. I can play devil's advocate, but I just think Usman's gonna win this fight. Yep. All right, go ahead and pick another fight on the card, and let's talk about it.
You know what it is, man. I love the ladies. We talked about it earlier, but I gotta go with Jillian Robertson, man. Savage. You know, her fight against Miranda Maverick. I've seen Miranda, of course, fight a few times. Why? Because I watch Invicta. I've seen her there. She's really done well in the UFC. Yeah, impressive. You know, she's really been doing well in the UFC. But I just think Jillian Robertson is another level, and I think Jillian's gonna get that W. I think she's gonna bounce back from her last fight or 2 fights ago. You know, with the actually no, it was her last fight. I think Jillian didn't win.
She lost to Santos in her last fight.
Yep. So I think she's gonna bounce back. I mean, she too has a good coach. You know, Dean Thomas. You know, he usually knows how to get people to where they need to be. So I'm looking forward to seeing her bounce back against Miranda.
Only thing about Miranda, she doesn't have a lot of like big time fight experience. She's fought, you know, former UFC fighter Pearl Gonzalez. She's fought Liana Jujo in her last fight, which she won in October. She's been impressive, but she doesn't really have that kind of resume. She lost a couple fights in 2019 and 18, some fighters that she probably shouldn't have lost to, but she has gotten better. You know, she's tough, and both of them are great with submissions. I think Jillian's experience probably will pay off a little bit better. She's fought some tougher competition. So I think Jillian's going to take that one. I agree with you. Kind of hard for Brandon to pass me in the standings when I keep agreeing with all his picks. My pick of the fight, we both wanted to talk about this. Pedro Munhoz, Jimmie Rivera. I went back and forth between that and the Jim Miller, Bobby Green fight. They're both going to be fun fights. Of course, I got a lot of love for Ricky Simon. I think he's going to be continue to be an up-and-coming star. I have no doubt he's going to crush through Brian Kelleher. But Jimmie Rivera has only lost to basically champion-level people. Of course, teammate with Brandon over at Tiger Schulman's. Jimmie Rivera is a beast. He lost to Peter Yan. He lost to Alamon Sterling. He lost to Marlon Arias, who was the champion over in World Series of Fighting / PFL. Just came off a win against Cody Stamann last July. You know, if he's training right, if he's got his head right, I just don't see Pedro Munhoz, who lost a tough fight to Frankie Edgar and then lost to Alamon Sterling as well. But, you know, I love Frankie, but you saw what just happened to him against a top-level guy. And if you can't beat that, then how are you going to beat another guy who's knocking on the door for title contention in Jimmie Rivera? I got to go with Jimmie all day on this one. I wouldn't be shocked if Pedro shows up. He's a tough fighter. He's definitely gotten some vicious knockouts. He knocked out Garbrandt. Everybody remembers that fight. He knocked out Brian Caraway, and everybody gave him a big round of applause. Sorry, that's a personal grudge there. But, yeah, he's definitely got potential to put you to sleep. But Jimmie Rivera isn't the kind of guy to go to sleep. He's only got one loss by knockout, and that was Marlon Moraes' head kick. And Moraes can do that to anyone. So you see that fight going any other way than Jimmie getting the win?
Nah, man, because the first time they fought, Jimmie had to go down to Brazil. So that was in Pedro's, you know, that was in Pedro's world. You know, so basically Pedro had the home advantage. Jimmie went in there, did his thing. You know, it was a tough fight.
Split decision win.
Yeah, yep, exactly. He won by split decision. So this time around, I mean, they both got things to prove, because I know my man Jimmie, you know, he's kind of been inactive here and there because a couple of fights he wanted, people fell through. I know that he's dropped in the rankings. I think he might be ranked number 9, and for some reason I think Pedro's ranked number 8 ahead of him for some reason. So I think I think that gave Jimmie a little extra motivation for this fight. And so I expect him to kind of go out there and maybe have a statement fight.
Yeah, I think Pedro's lost fights that he shouldn't have lost. And Jimmie Rivera is only lost to champions, except for like his first loss and like his second fight ever.
Yep.
But even a couple years ago, Pedro lost a split decision to John Dodson, who, as fun as John is to watch fight, he brings the excitement every fight. You shouldn't be losing that fight to John Dodson. Losing to Alamon Sterling, there's no shame in that. He's fighting for the title coming up real soon. Losing to Frankie Edgar, he's a vet, he's a star, but Frankie's also on the downside of his career, as much as we love him. So I just don't see it. He's won some good fights, but he's also lost some fights he should have won. And like you said, Jimmie already beat him once in his home in Brazil, so I don't see it going any other way. Brandon, anything else you want to talk about this week?
Just for the people, man. I mean, I'm sure they probably already see, because that show is going to be on after Bellator, but I probably say, like, remember I said last week how their first show is going to be like April 9th and April 16th. Rumor is that they're going to be having it be April 2nd instead. And I think on that first card, they could be starting their 8-man light heavyweight tournament, which of course we see people like, Yoel Romero, Corey Anderson's going to be in it. Rumble Johnson's going to be in it. I think Ryan Bader's supposed to be in it as well. So be on the lookout for that. If we're wrong, let us know in the comments. Say, hey, you were wrong.
Do you think we see anything? You think we see any updates with the featherweight one? They still haven't finished it.
Yeah, I think they're going to announce the Pitbull versus Sanchez fight too as well. So I think that's what they're supposed to talk about, and then what you said earlier about them possibly moving to Paramount Plus, to show their fights instead of being on CBS Sports Network. I mean, hey man, you already saw, man, during the Super Bowl, that all they kept on showing, it was like every other commercial was like a Paramount Plus commercial. So I mean, they were hitting it hard. And
it does help that the Super Bowl was on their network.
Yeah, and then plus two, and then I think my buddy told me too though. Because I guess the Super Bowl was also on Nickelodeon as well. I guess he was a buddy. I think he said too that also during the Nickelodeon version too, they were doing nothing but Paramount Plus as well. A lot of commercials. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, looking forward to seeing what they have to say. We haven't heard from Bellator much this year so far. Like we talked about last week, they were going toe to toe with the UFC every week for a while, and then they just kind of faded away. So they got to pick up their momentum again, especially with PFL picking up all the momentum. I mean, a year ago, or not even a year ago, back in September, October, we thought PFL was dead. Yep. Like we're writing them off. The fighters were looking
man, you thought they were dead, not me.
As a show, 2 out of 3 people on the show thought they were dead, and but a lot of their fighters were looking for other places. Kayla had to fight a couple different fights in different places. Lance Palmer was looking to get out of his contract. A lot of guys thought they were free agents at that point. But they're back. They worked it out. They got their TV deal settled with ESPN, and they're going to be fun to watch. UFC is going to keep trucking on. Ladies and gentlemen, before we let you get out of here.
Wait, I'm sorry. One more thing I forgot.
And I was about to plug the damn shirts, Brandon.
No, I'm sorry, man. Just one more thing. Another more news, because I forgot to say it earlier. Because it was Dom Reyes. He was supposed to fight Ratchets, right?
Yeah.
Ratchets? Yeah, well, now who's going to step in to fight Ratchets? Thiago Santos.
No, it was always Thiago.
Was it? I thought it was supposed to be Dom Reyes was fighting him. Who was Dom Reyes supposed to fight then?
I know it's been Thiago for a second.
Really? Nah, I want to say they just announced it because who was Dom Reyes?
Well, no, because you're right, because Thiago was supposed to fight somebody else. Well, that's gonna be a fun fight.
Yeah. So I just wanted to get that out before we
I didn't even think of that switch. I saw that fight today, and I was just like thinking how excited I am. I'm not excited at all for 258. I'm not gonna lie. I'm excited for 259. 259 is stacked, and that fight's on there. Amanda Nunes. There's like 3 title fights on 259, and as good as 258 can be, there's a lot of fights. We just talked about Jimmie Rivera, people like Jim Miller and Bobby Green. It's going to be a fun card, but it's not going to have the importance and the impact that 259 is going to have on the 6th of March. So look forward to that. Now, Brandon, can I make my shameless plug?
Yes, now you can.
All right, check out Brandon. Look at that shirt. Check out my shirt. Fighters first, always. Check out our tees. Just Unleash the Way of the Fist one, which is awesome. We got the MMA versus everybody shirt, which is awesome. Right on the bottom, right here. Mechanic 15, save you 15%. Let us know you were watching. Leave a comment. Go ahead and shop today, and we'll get that product right out to you. Thank you very much. Brandon, hope you had a good episode. Looking forward to the fight card this week. For Brandon and myself, we're out.
done.